Come along, children. Now we're going to have a little music.
Hi guys, welcome to the First Cut YouTube channel. I'm Sabrina Ramirez and I'm here with Robert Butler III, and we're here to talk about Bill and Ted Face the Music, the third installment in the Bill and Ted franchise. We're reunited with Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter's characters 30 years later. So, you know, for this film, there was a lot of expectations going into it. The first two Bill and Ted films are relics of their time. They really encapsulate pop culture in America in the late 80s, early 90s. These characters are interesting because they're subtly complex. At the end of the day, they're just like these bright-eyed Southern California teenagers who are tasked with saving the world as we know it. It's really fun. It's zany if you guys have checked out the other films. And both films were sleeper hits of their time. And they became ingrained into pop culture. And it's been almost 3 decades since we've last seen the pair. And then finally, in the year 2020, it is here.
Yeah, going into Bill and Ted 3, I really didn't have that much expectations for it. I knew obviously I got pushed back and it was obviously highly anticipated, but I don't have as much of like a personal connection to the Bill and Ted like characters as much. But I did, I was looking forward to this movie. I love Keanu. I love Alex Winter and all the stuff he's been doing recently. So I was excited to see this. And I honestly had a really fun time. I enjoyed it. I thought it was really funny. I thought there were some great moments, some great heartwarming moments, a lot of funny comedic moments. And I think it paid homage to like a lot of great like people and eras of music and history, like the original 2 Bill and Ted's, but this one did it to a whole nother level. And obviously it stepped up the epicness, the scale, the variety of it, but I thought that was all for the better. So I enjoyed it.
In Bill and Ted Face the Music, the title really does tell us everything we need to know about our protagonists. Decades after we've last seen them, they're kind of struggling with life because I think a lot of that does have to do with how naive and optimistic they are. They're struggling to cope with the reality of adulthood. Their music careers did end up tanking and their marriages are falling apart. It's funny because in the other 2 Bill and Ted films, we never even got the whole point, which was the song that's supposed to unite the world. We never got that at all. So it's really interesting that now they're tasked with that years later when they're at their lowest. I think in today's day and age, it's kind of difficult to revive these types of characters because, as I said, they're very positive, and in the world around us, it's something that's difficult with everything that's happening. Obviously, in 2020, it's been a hell of a year, but I think they do a really good job of like reimagining and reinventing these characters into modern times, and it does give us like an escape from reality and kind of like a glimpse of like hope and positivity and optimism. I feel like that we kind of honestly needed in film right now. We're not really getting a lot of stuff. This is something that's, I think it's a bright addition to the films that we're getting over this summer. And yeah, and then so in this film, they're approached by George Carlin's daughter, Kelly, to go on this adventure. And I think the homage they pay to George Carlin is something that's really beautiful. It's a tribute to his character Rufus, and I love that little moment. So it has those nostalgia-filled moments where if you enjoyed the first 2 Bill and Ted, you'll see it in this third one and you'll be able to recognize it and you'll feel warm inside. But I feel like it also has stuff to offer people who have never seen it before because all those moments are brief. So it's not like it goes on it too long where you have had to see the older ones in order to get it. And I think because they have the same writers and a lot of the same ensemble, they still capture that magic from the first 2 films and they kind of amplify it to stay relevant to this generation. And their writing really does make the zany adventures that they go on make complete sense because it's a tight script. We have groups of characters going back and forth in time and we're still able to follow it and we're still able to go on this journey with them and just have a good time. And that's the biggest thing. I think they accomplished all of that. And the energy and the performances stayed strong. Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter, you could tell that they care about these characters and that they're excited to play them again. That's a big thing. And even the 2 actresses they had play the daughters, Samara Weaving and Bridget Lundy-Paine, they were fantastic because they weren't doing like a caricature of these characters as the daughters. They picked up the mannerisms, but they took their own spin on it and they made it something for this generation. And I really love the relationship that they have with their fathers. And we get to see a side of Bill and Ted that we haven't seen before. It's paternal, and they really do focus on their marriages and relationships. And this premise is like grounded by the two men being focused on saving their relationships with their family while they're also trying to save the world. It's really those two things that are interwoven throughout. And the music, talking about the music, because you said that, it's always been a tool for these types of films to kind of further the story. But now it's amplified more, like I said, because this song that they're supposed to create drives the entire plot. So I don't want to give too much away, because obviously this is like a spoiler free. We're just speaking a little bit kind of on what we've seen in the trailer. Those are fair game, but the film itself we're not going to go into. But yeah, they have amazing musicians. We have I don't want to say who actually, but yeah, all throughout time, all over the world, with entirely different backgrounds to create something epic. And I think that's so cool, because we actually are getting a taste of all different cultures being united in this song, and giving their daughters this major role kind of passes the mantle, like I said, off to a new generation. And it really shows that like we're stronger together. It shows that unification provides like this teamwork effort that makes this task actually achievable, because we have different people kind of picking up pieces of the puzzle and putting it together. And yeah, I just think this was a really fun, hopeful film, and it gives us an escape from the world happening today, and we can like join these characters on this adventure, you know, the most excellent adventure. And it really does mature the themes from previous films. I think it's a really great addition to like the celebrated cult classic franchise. And it's a timeless reminder, be excellent to each other. Just sit down, enjoy this film, take a second away from reality. Keanu Reeves, I mean, over the past few years, he's been bigger than ever. He's always been big, but like people love everything Keanu Reeves does. And I think this also lends itself to that beautifully. Like he absolutely killed it in this film.
Yeah, I thought he was great. I thought Alex Winter in this part was great as well. And it's funny, you talk about the daughters. I love the daughters. I love Samara Weaving. Is that her name, if I'm not mistaken?
Samara Weaving.
Yeah, who was great in Ready or Not, one of my favorite movies recently. And yeah, I thought they were great. And also, you mentioned the musicians that we see. I don't want to spoil too many of them, but one that we did see in the trailer was Kid Cudi, who actually you were on set for that scene. So yeah,
that was a lot of fun. Yeah, no, back in February, I got an invite to be in the scene. So I was actually there when they were filming. I got to meet director Dean Parisot, I don't know, Kid Cudi, and then also Alex Winter. And that was definitely a surreal experience, because I have cared about these characters for so long. And I didn't know, they didn't tell us at all what the scene was beforehand. I didn't know Kid Cudi was even going to really like be there. And then experiencing that and then not seeing it in the context of the film was really funny, because we had a long shoot day, and it's just really cool. It was cool to be able to experience being on set. You know, I did obviously press for Geeks of Color. A lot of that stuff will be coming soon if you guys want to check it out on the Geeks of Color website. I was able to do press, and I was on a Zoom call with Keanu and Alex on like a Sunday. And I'm like, this is so cool as a fan of the franchise, because the excitement that they had doing a press panel that most people aren't going to be able to see anyways, but they were so high energy and they were so hyped up and they were so excited to answer any questions and just talk about these characters. And it really does shine through in this film. It's something that it's really just one of those things where this is like a simple film. It's definitely nothing crazy complex, but it kind of touches on a lot of that. It's that maturity of these characters. It's about growing up. It's about relationships with family. And I just love, like we've said a few times, this highlight that they do about all different kinds of music from all different generations all over the world. Major figures in that. Because it's like this film was a mixture of the first two. Because we also get Death, William Sadler back as Death. And he was great. They didn't have as much of him as I would have hoped. I did want more, but the moment that they did have was absolutely great. And also the addition of the new characters. Anthony Carrigan plays a robot, and it's hilarious. It all just brings down. We were able to actually hang out for the first time since since we went into quarantine, you and I watched this together for the screening, and it was a lot of fun. I loved when he would say something and I'm just like hearing you laugh. It was almost like getting that like theater experience. So I feel like this is one of those films that I would have loved to see in a theater, to have the energy with everyone. But even just watching it on a screen at home, you still get that energy. You still get those visual effects. They went further than they ever have for either of the two films, and I had a blast. I highly recommend it. If you're a fan of the franchise, 100%, I think you'll enjoy this. Even if you're not, I think this really is just a fun watch.
Yeah, no doubt. It's definitely bigger than it's ever been before. There's a lot going on. Yeah, it's really, really fun. And, you know that I had earlier, Sabrina, during this time period where there's so much gloom and despair happening in the world, there's nothing better than just being able to, enjoy and consume this kind of stuff right now. So, it's all for the better. And I think when people go and watch this movie, make sure you go into it with, not like the expectations of this being like this being like some sort of comedic like masterpiece or some sort of huge explosive, masterpiece. Like, of course, like it's really, really great and it's awesome. But like you have to understand, it's also a Bill and Ted movie. It's going to be goofy. It's going to be funny. It's going to be silly. And if you're into that, it's going to be perfect for you. If you're not into that, maybe don't go into it and have any, kind of negative expectations for it. But I think it's really, really great.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things, because at the end of the day, this is just that like comedic duo type of film. So it's like you don't expect it to be a masterpiece and you don't expect it to be a huge spectacle. It lands right in the sweet spot of being in between all these different things of all different genres. It's definitely comedic, but it's not so overly where it's like like a Seth Rogen or anything like that. It's all right in between, but it has a lot of heart and it's just really enjoyable, like you said. So yeah, if you guys want to check out my review on Geeks of Color, my written review, my coverage of the press like conference that we had and all of that, definitely check that out on Geeks of Color. But with that, that was our review for Bill and Ted. I'm Sabrina Ramirez. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at SabrinaXMonica and on Twitter at SabrinaOnFilm. Follow the First Cut account on Twitter and Instagram at FirstCutTMO, and RB3. Your plugs?
Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DirectorRB3.
All right, and that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed.
Dina! Billy! Dad! How you doing?
Well, we're dead and we're in hell.
But how you doing?
We're good.